Zlurpcast!
Kings of War. That voice, it reminds me of me doing the Mantic podcast. What does it pay? The answer was nothing. But all four of us, we're talking Valdric, we're talking Biran, talking Xtreme, we all went all in on everything Mantic, especially Kings of War, for a good 3-ish years. Mike is not all in. Mike's in, right? Mike, you're in. You're not all in anymore.
Well, I still play when I can, but
I'm not quite, are you all in or are you just in?
I'm in. I'm not all into anything.
Okay, exactly.
Never porn.
Mike's a game slut.
Yeah. But I mean, we not only did we played in tournaments, we played friendly games, we painted armies, we went in, we backed Kickstarters. And at this point, before we get started, Biran, Xtreme, are you playing any Kings of War, even pre-COVID?
No.
Okay. All right. Well,
everyone got too good at it, and I had no chance of winning anymore, so I didn't want to play anymore.
I sold my army to this guy.
Oh, well then.
I have armies from all three of you.
Yes.
Is mine's GW though?
Yeah, yours are the ogres. Yeah.
Oh, the ogres. You have
Yeah.
those? Oh, okay.
The purple ones? Are those the purple ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were already second enemy. Do you also have my Tzeentch Chaos Warriors too, right?
No.
Oh no. Okay.
I have your GW Beastmen that have also become my herd. So.
Yeah, that was my first experience with the dip, and I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, for Beastmen, it's awesome. Yeah.
Beastmen, it was like too easy. So let's talk about Kings of War. We have first edition, second edition, we have third edition. This is Kings of War Through the Ages. Is it fair to say that first edition was more of a, we need to come up with a game because we already sell models?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, the rules were like an 8-page pamphlet, and they were pretty bad.
Wasn't Mantic known for, even among the hardcore GW fantasy players, for the undead? Like, use these Mantic models. They look just as good, if not better, and they're way cheaper.
Yeah, when Mantic started, they had the three armies: the dwarves, the elves, and the undead. And the undead were by far the best.
Yeah. And they were hard plastic, weren't they?
Oh, yeah.
I really like the dwarves that Mantic did. I mean, it's a different style. It's not like a GW dwarf, but I really dig the Mantic dwarfs.
Oh, yeah, I agree, yeah. And I know I'm at the real minority here, but I like the elves. So.
Yeah, you've always had a fascination with those. You know, Mantic's scale is not Games Workshop and never tries to be. And I give them credit for that. Even though in their early stages, they were mainly referenced by people we knew as Games Workshop filler armies or filler models, but they still leaned into what they wanted to do. And that was making more true scale looking undead, orcs, dwarves, and even they carried over into their sci-fi range. So I give them credit for not trying to clone a Games Workshop look or aesthetic. You know, they knew what they were looking for. And I remember way back when, Mike, when you and I were playing Warhammer Fantasy, I didn't have Mantic stuff then, but Jason Fulton had a undead army, and and he told me, I go, what are those zombies from? And he was like, oh, they're Mantic. I'm like, and we just, to me, it was almost like just another company that makes just a sprue, like Perry Miniatures, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, it's just stuff that's out there. We didn't know there was a game, and we didn't know even when it even came out. I do know, though, that when we started playing Dreadball and Dead Zone, which are in those episodes,
Ciao.
we then also said, Kings of War, let's do this. This was the first edition. I had a hardcover book, though. So
Yep.
Like, when you said it was like a pamphlet, was there almost like a 1.5? Is that what that was? Or was the hardcover?
I have the hardcover too, yeah.
Hardcover is second edition. What you have behind you?
No, I have a hardcover of Kings of War.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was that giant thing.
Yeah, it was too big. It was above standard size.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't even know if I have it anymore. It was a black hardcover.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah.
So that was sort of like the real first edition, right?
Yeah.
I think the pamphlet was like the
Quick
basic
rules?
rules.
Yeah, the basic.
Yeah, the quick start rules, basically.
Yeah, because that came in all the starter sets and all that. Yeah.
I remember that pamphlet because at AdeptCon once, some dude from Ohio had some people go up to him and say, "Hey, I want to do a demo," and he just kind of threw that at him.
Yeah, that was awesome. Super good way to get people into the game.
Yep.
Who's the one who asked for the demo?
Was that one of your friends or one of Todd's friends?
This is one of the guys from Indy that eventually did get the game, but was pretty turned off that year.
Yes.
Yeah. That was, I mean, I don't want this to turn into a Mantic bitch fest because we've already
done it twice.
Done it at least twice, probably in the regrets too. And we did Dead Zone and Dreadball, but
but ultimately I think we gave them fair scores. So
we did. I will say there wasn't really a lot of, I'm surprised. We got a lot, still thumbs up on the videos. There wasn't a lot of like, hey, you guys don't understand it. There wasn't a lot of that. So that was kind of cool. The Mantic thing is really weird. It's just I don't even know how many different ways we can say the same thing, but it's like it's a cult-like following of people who wear the War Not Games Workshop badge of honor. They wear it with pride, but then they also kind of like half-ass a lot of stuff too. Like if you're supposed to be ready to do demos, you need to be ready to do demos. Like that would have never happened with 40K. If your job was to be, show people 500-point demo games, you wouldn't have had that. But it's almost like a closed-off group, and then sometimes survives in spite of itself.
I think Kings of War is a little different, though. I think Kings of War has some more just built-in support beyond the typical Mantic fanboys.
It does now because of the timeline. We'll talk about that. But I wanted to kind of touch on that sort of angle of not always the easiest to get into, especially several years ago. We all bought armies. I had Undead. Mike had Abyssal Dwarves. I know Xtreme had Dwarves. Biran, did you buy Ogres?
I had, my first army was Goblins. My second army was Abyssal Dwarves, which is mostly Obsidian Golems. And I also had an Orc army.
Okay. So we started playing. We enjoyed it. We had fun with it. I remember even at a Gen Con doing demos in the Mantic booth, and this was right after Games Workshop killed Warhammer Fantasy. And it was like, bring it in, bro. And I was like consoling these hurt fantasy players. Said, let's do a demo right now. I had like not Bretonnian. They had a knight army or something.
Basilians.
Two different armies. What was it?
Basilians.
Oh, Basilians, yeah. Or Basileans, if you will.
Right.
Yeah, so I had them out there, and I said, give these a try. Let's go. And then play a couple rounds. They got the idea of how movement works, all that kind of stuff. And they were like, this is pretty cool. I'm in. And at the time, Mantic had these starter sets where it was like an army box. It's like $100, and you probably got the pamphlet inside, so whatever. But you get the rule book, and then you buy $100 set, so you're in for about $130, and you're good to go to start with to try this new mass battle fantasy game. Newer. This was going from first edition to second edition, that book, and it was an opportunity for Mantic to try to take that audience that Games Workshop left behind and turn them into fanboys. And they did. They did. That was the beginning of the end, jokingly for us, because now instead of going to a
quality players got in and we are not.
Right. Instead of playing against the same doofuses we always play against, we played against some like Warhammer Fantasy champions and shit. And it's like
I don't know what just happened, but my entire army's dead.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck's going on? Like, you ruined our thing. It was like, like in a band and it's popular, and now it's like, well, I don't really like that band anymore.
We're the drummer that got kicked off the band of the Beatles before they made it big.
Right. You should like it more because more people were into it. But that really wasn't our thing. We probably played an equal amount of games with, I say we as in the collective. Second edition and first edition probably equal. Probably played a bunch. I've never played third edition. I don't even have the rule book. Biran, do you have the rule book?
No.
Xtreme?
No.
Mike does. Do you have it handy, Mike? Why don't you show that off? To show people it actually exists.
Non-kickstarted as well.
There's the supplemental, the good armies, and now they have the first
one. The good Helpy. Is that the dragon?
No, it's I think he's a.
I thought Helpy's the dragon.
No, I don't know.
Is it one of those like Frankenstein's the doctor, not the monster situation?
I don't honestly remember. Now that like
it's Dr. Helpy and Helpy's dragon. I get it. Okay. Mike, you said something kind of in passing with your little book showcase, the good armies.
Yeah.
I thought those were the armies they don't have stories for.
Yeah, but they're the armies that I play.
Oh, has it got like the halflings in it and stuff?
Yeah.
Good means your favorite. This is not. Is it fair to say it? And Mike, this is going to be sort of your episode to correct anything we say that's incorrect. Like a lot of games, like in like Blood Bowl's doing that now, where they don't release all the teams. You got like the legends. This had that sort of thing. Are those like the second tier armies though? Because why make them good? We're not going to make any money from them.
I wouldn't say they're second tier, but yeah, a little bit, yeah. Maybe like 1.5 tier, just because, I mean, Force of Nature is still one of the more powerful armies. The Varangur.
That's their own models. Force of Nature is a Mantic original, isn't
yeah,
it?
you're right. They moved that now, yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking like Tomb Kings, whatever that crossover is. I'm thinking, what are the other big Warhammer armies that like didn't have a counterpart?
The Twilight Kin, that was the Dark Elves.
Herd, Xtreme, that's a good one.
Yeah, the Herd, the Ratkin, Skaven.
I played against Max with Herd one time and he kicked the shit out of me.
Oh, Herdkin. In second edition, Herd had some real.
It was second edition. Yeah. So maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the I don't know, ancillary, whatever you want to call it, other armies are still pretty viable, right?
I mean, I think so. Yeah. But again, they're not getting the love, and they really nerfed League of Rortia. That's the halfling one.
So when talking about Kings of War, if someone's watching this and they don't really know much about it, the gameplay resembles, is it Warhammer Fantasy 6th or 7th edition? Is that the idea?
Sorta, yeah. I mean,
so rank and flank is the common term.
Yeah, rank and flank, but it was built to be a tournament game. So, like in your turn, you do all the dice rolling. Mm-hmm. So that speeds things up. So it's not, I do my attacks, then you have to save, and then I have to attack, then wound, then you save, and leader.
When you put a timer, it's actually okay because you're not going to get fucked over by someone stalling.
Yeah, exactly. So it was definitely designed to be a quicker game with tournaments in mind. So
still to this day, the only game that I use the timer on, besides maybe a couple of Blood Bowl ones here and there, like in the old 4-minute rule days, but the only game I ever used a timer with. And in fact, I probably have. We all bought that same timer, and it was like so we could play in a tournament. That was what you did because you got, what was it, like 55 minutes aside, right?
Yeah, something like that. And yeah, 45, 55.
Whatever it was, yeah. And so that's kind of where it came from. Mike, when you're playing Kings of War, this is sort of a very heavy movement maneuvering tactic game because you're maneuvering blocks of things. Ideally, it's models on a base or a base with models. I know it's not like the same thing, but you can do both. You could put all your models on a base, or you could put a base on your, I don't know.
Diorama base, if you will.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too, as well with the modeling aspect of it. But Mike, are those really the key elements? Is the maneuvering and the kind of what am I going to give you and what are you going to give me? Kind of that cat and mouse that goes on.
Oh yeah, definitely. Trying to set up flanks and not expose flanks and keep lines of sight for shooting and try to get
flanks. Get the rear charge. You get what, double attacks on a flank and triple on a rear.
Triple on a rear, yeah.
And triple on a war machine.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is piece trading, though, where you're giving away like a cheaper unit to draw them in, so that way you can hit them.
I was kind of getting that, yeah.
Because the charges are not random, or are they random?
So, I remember, when we started playing Kings of War, We all built an army. Here's you're going to see some multi-base examples here. These are hordes, not legions, right?
That's a horde.
Yeah. If they're
together,
Legion's 2 of these, I think, or whatever.
No, Legion would be 10 by.
Oh, Legion is 30 and 30. So I remember I made them 40s. See the add-on to the base? Because I was going to do 1 Legion, and then I said that it's funny, you can show your work. I totally forgot that I did that. But so I remember playing Undead. I had good shit. I had the werewolves, and I had a lot of cheap shit, like a bunch of zombies. And I remember, right after that, we're learning how to play. Like, all right, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to angle my shit this way, and then make you pick one. Because then you pick one, I'm going to wrap around and get the other one. That kind of stuff is commonplace in this game, right, Mike?
Yeah. I mean, there's ways around that. You're just going to move.
There isn't. I won a tournament with that, Mike. There's no way around it. I won X-Con. No, Nacho Con, Kings of War tournament.
Yes, you did.
Just saying. I don't think there's a way around it. I think that's the fucking checkmate every time. Zombies in a fucking V can't be stopped.
Like the Mighty Ducks.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's a big part of the game, though, is that combination of what you're saying, Mike, and Xtreme. It is peace trading. Trading. That's kind of I don't want to risk my good shit. I want, and if you somehow do that, I remember the other big one was I remember my werewolf hordes. These are very expensive, almost 200 points each, 250, whatever. They're a lot, but they're really awesome. And when I lost one, it was a big deal. When I lost a horde of zombies, I didn't really care that much. Is that sort of, when you're building an army list, do you want a good mix of cheap stuff and expensive, or do you want a full elite list and a full horde list?
Well, it also depends how you're playing. If you're playing with the scenarios, again, a lot of the scenarios are having unit strength holding objectives. So again, the bigger units are better.
Bigger turds to move off objectives.
Yeah, they're turds, and they also, I mean, you put a legion of zombies out there that's got a much higher unit strength than a couple of smaller units. So
I remember getting screwed when I couldn't spin.
Yeah,
it gets a little clogged in the middle there in your bone.
Yeah. I thought it was good to clog up the middle, but then I couldn't, because I think when you're doing your actions, like a full 180 is, or no, you get I'm getting confused because it's been so long, but you get to countercharge as an action. But I remember there was something where I couldn't ever make the turn because the base was too long.
Yeah, if you're being flanked and you have something behind you and you can't physically fit it in, then you're boxed in.
Yeah, I ran that problem with, what's that crazy dwarf thing? Their model is a giant, mechanical ram.
Oh, that's
the behemoth or something. I forgot what it's called.
Behemoth.
Yeah, but it's a long and skinny one, so it's hard to maneuver it because you get caught.
I remember correctly, I believe that the design was lifted from a battle beast transport.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it was the ram, the battle beast ram.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, let's make one of those. So it's a game where you could, there's probably 20 different factions. Each one has several ways to play them and build them. So it gives you a lot of freedom. And then from a modeling aspect, do you want to we'll kind of go around. What did you guys do as far as taking advantage of the multi-base rule?
I got thrifty and put as few models on a base as I could.
Did you use plastic dinosaurs?
I never did that. I was never that much of a hobo, but was it the Abyssal Half-Breeds, Mike? Those are the Minotaur-looking guys, right?
Yeah,
Not the Minotaur, the Centaur-looking weirdos.
Yeah.
I tried to make 2 units out of a box of 1. And then I learned that some UK asshole, we call him the rosy-cheeked motherfucker, was all bitchy about 50% plus 1. So I brought a My Little Pony to add to the base to make it 1 more. But I saw sometimes I know Todd, and I know you have dioramic bases, and Todd had that awesome one with the zombies bursting through the gate.
Oh yeah, those are really cool.
And some people just went crazy with it, and I thought it looked amazing.
Yeah, some of the herd and the nature armies were just amazing.
Yeah. I think that's what drew me to the game was the diorama. I didn't really do it much, but that's what drew me. And it was sort of like when you get a blizzard at Dairy Queen and they pour it upside down to show you that it is made properly. A good Kings of War army you can turn upside down.
I remember transporting mine on a
sheet pan.
Well, mine was a magnetic dry erase board,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like walking around, like just swinging it around. Just
this is my army.
Yeah, I'm fine. It's gonna be fine. I'm not even worried about it. Xtreme, when you built your dwarves, you were all about the multi-basing, right?
Yeah, I was really excited about that. So I had like different levels to them. So the guys in the back were kind of going down like cliffs and some of them, and had them all. I didn't want them all regimented, so they were all kind of like they were mid-battle. Things were breaking up. And I think the Rangers, I got a little more crazy with because they were going through the woods and stuff.
I started to do a base like that with the Rangers with one of the GW gyrocopters like flying above the woods with the Rangers underneath.
Yeah, so my Ranger unit got me marked off for painting points. A certain tournament organization. Because my Rangers didn't match the rest of my army. Because they're fucking Rangers. They're not supposed to. But
yeah.
Does the A team, do they all look like B.A. Baracus, or does just one look like B.A. Baracus? That's the Ohio Standards, otherwise known as garbage tier.
You're trying to grow a relatively new community. I don't think marking people off is probably a good idea for stuff like that. Kind of sets a bad tone.
Awarding a shitty painted army the best painted because it's your son.
Did that happen?
Yes.
Did we vote on it, or was it just?
It was the arbitrary point system that only he and his buddies knew about.
Yeah.
It's rough. Valdric, so you were building Abyssal Dwarves. That was kind of your baby while we were all assembling. Did you start multi-basing, or were you going in the normal?
Oh no, I was totally multi-basing. Yeah.
What was
I have the marble base, kind of the Wapple-esque marble base with satanic symbols on it, and yeah.
Did you just compare yourself to Jim Wapple painting wise?
No, I said bases for style. The best compliment I ever got was someone looked at my base and said, "Did Jim Wapple do that?" And I laughed and said, "No, I copied as poorly as I could. My own poor way. I copied the technique."
Did Jim Wapple at age 9 do this? Still a prodigy, but just wanted to make it clear. Yeah, that was something really fun about, well, before we get into that, so I did that with Undead too. Did you guys glue them before you painted them? Because I did that, and I kind of have mixed feelings about all of it.
No.
I only painted one King's War model myself.
Oh, really?
I bought all my shit painted.
Oh, yeah.
I got my Goblin Army at a Dragstar auction for like $50. And I paid $150 for Joe Neat's Abyssal Dwarf Army. I paid $150 for the Orc Army. The only thing I painted was the Greater Obsidian Golem for my
I wanted that Orc Army. I tried to get it, but you got in there with the cash offer.
Yeah. Standard $150 for any army.
For anything. Yeah, I mean, we were doing tournaments. We were playing all the time. So the whole full hobby aspect of it, we were all doing. I remember getting Alex over at Ironheart Artisans. Definitely check him out. We've mentioned him before.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one that asked for certain bases and certain spots. He actually, I think the Undead. I don't remember. I think those might have actually been.
Yeah, the zombies are the ones you get random.
Yeah, that's right. So he did a good job with those, but I mean, it gave you so much freedom. Building a Kings of War army gives you a lot of freedom. You get to do whatever you want with it, and within reason, because there are some standards now. I did notice. So I looked at the PDF of the 3rd edition, Mike, and they do mention the minimum model count in there, where they didn't say that in the old version.
Yeah.
So
there's minimum model count. Now there's preferred model count too.
Yeah, the PMC I saw.
PMC, yes.
Wasn't the minimum model count, wasn't that only for tournaments in 2nd edition?
Well,
it was only for tournaments that involved that RCMF.
Well, the RCMF directly endorses the PMC, But then, of course, there was the PMRC, which means you can't swear in albums in the 80s. There was a lot of like, why was this all not political, but why was it such a big deal with this bullshit about what you should do?
Because some people took advantage of it and made, like me, who tried to spread out a purchase into two separate. I was taking advantage of the lead.
The rules say
there were people that were even worse though. So you get like one box of dwarves, you put one dwarf on a base.
Yes.
There you go.
I played a game against Pat, who's Mantic. I don't know if he might have just been trying out an army. Maybe that was the reason, but he had one one GW lizard man for a salamander horde. Yeah. You know, and I might have just been trying it out, whatever. It was just one of those where of course I want to see the models out there. We play miniature games to see miniatures, but at a certain point, I don't really give a fuck. I mean, I got enough stuff to worry about with my own. So the base size, the footprint is in the rules. It was in second edition. At that point, I mean, would you rather see 28 My Little Ponies represent 30, and it's supposed to be abyssal dwarves, or would you rather see 10 awesome-looking abyssal dwarves representing 20 or 30 even? At least they look like they're supposed to. I'd rather see the fucking models, the actual models you want to see, than the bullshit models just to be funny about it.
I'm not so much worried about the actual count of the models. Like, I'm not going to sit there and count how many models are in your base, but I just want the base to look full.
Yeah.
So like it looks like a full unit coming at me. So one of the things I really love about Kings of War, and I've said it multiple times, I think Mike's agreed with me, is that it's really just a skirmish game.
Yeah.
But you walk by the table and it looks like a mass battle game. So it's exactly what I want. I get the cool visual of this mass battle game, but it doesn't play. You know, it's not going to take me all day to play a game.
Like, I've seen some models that below minimum model count that look 10 times better than the ones at model count.
It just seems a weird.
Yeah.
And even Ronnie came out. I remember because it was at Todd's team tournament where I made the announcement about minimum model count and rosy cheek motherfuckers. And Ronnie always said, I just care about the rule of cool.
Yeah.
Right. And there is a big difference though. Like, again, like I don't care about the exact count, but if you have one or two models on a big base, like
yeah, it looks silly.
You're taking me out of the visual of it, even if they are great painted models. But I'd rather see, 10 shitty models that represent 20 over 2 really nice models that represent 20.
Would you rather see like My Little Pony army, or would you rather see half model count cool army?
Well, no, and what I'm saying, like, I'd rather see the half model count cool army, but a half, I'm okay with half. Like, it's when you start getting like below 30% on the base.
When the base looks sparse, yeah.
It's like that base better look super cool at that point.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, I played, Biran, did you ever play Warhammer Fantasy or no?
I did. I played a few games back in the Crooked Hat days.
Xtreme, I don't think you ever got into that, did you?
No.
But like, that was the whole thing when you play Warhammer Fantasy is you've got these movement trays and you have a fuck ton of models on little squares and you're just filling them up. And essentially the models are wounds. You're pulling them all off. And the idea of I can do whatever I want, I'm going to have a wound tracker. That idea really should be the main reason, should be one of the main reasons why you want to play Kings of War and you think it's cool, because your models aren't really wound markers. You want to represent what it should look like. So I'm on board with what you're saying, Xtreme. I like the visual too. Why are we playing with miniatures if we're not going to have fun with them and do that? I remember playing against Sarlo's army. I know he was testing it out, but it was all Post-it notes. And it was only a one-time thing. I don't think he ever did it again. It was really just I want to test it out. But, someone walks by, that might be a potential new club member. It's a little fucked up, to see,
And you sneeze and it all goes away.
Yeah, I'm going to sneeze and knock out the entire left flank of your army. That's awesome. I can't wait because you're not going to know where. It's going to be on the floor. It's great.
I remember when you did that, but you kicked it up a notch with a cutout of the model pictures.
I did. For one, I don't remember. I remember what it was.
It was orcs. It was orcs, wasn't it?
It was an orc. It was a chariot.
Yeah.
And because I was trying, I don't remember if I didn't have the model or they didn't have, or I wanted to convert one. Like I had an old fantasy chariot. I don't remember what it was, but I was like, let me just try this. So I actually took the base with cork on it, like a footprint, and I remember printing out from the website how people buy that. I mean, people use those for role-playing games sometimes, standees.
Yeah.
I made it. It was terrible because it kept falling down anyway. But I felt like an asshole doing it. But it was.
Did it fall down more than your orc leader on the dragon? Just tip forward.
Oh, that was the worst. I mean, that thing. So it was the Games Workshop. Wervin, right?
Yeah, Wervin. Yeah.
Wervin, yeah. And it was a fine cast model, so not metal. But I put it on a 50 by 50 because that was the rules. I didn't want to put it on the one it came with. However, it was very long, very front heavy. I put metal goblins in the back to weigh it out. But then you get into combat and you still can't fit it. So then I would use the dice, Chessex dice holder, or the but the container. And that became my flying stand with the thing on it. And at a certain point, then it starts looking just ridiculous anyway, as in, what happened to the rule of cool? Now it looks rule of garbage games because you have random shit.
Was it
dice things.
Shannon who had, I think it was a Varangar, like flying leader on the smallest legal base, and it was just towering over the base?
Yeah, that was.
Because for the game, a smaller base was advantageous because you need to be able to land.
Yeah.
It's kind of there was a time when I fell out of love with Kings of War. It seemed like when everyone was flying.
Yes.
And I just was like, I don't want. I played against Elohai. It was like the Angels. Right?
Yeah.
And they were just flying behind me, rear charging me, and it was just a lot of. And then I played against the dinosaur wings, and flying over there. You can't really fit. Yeah, I can. Well, it's a giant fucking rubber chicken on a base. I don't know if it could fit. And it wasn't fun. And maybe it's me not thinking outside the box, but I want to see my dudes on foot fucking up your dudes on foot, and we just clash and that's what I wanted. It seemed to take me out of it, even though I later had an orc army with a flying dragon, but I didn't like that style of gameplay.
Now, the last time I played was at Dragonfall as a favor to Todd. And I didn't see so much of that garbage tier stuff going on of the Hobby Lobby dinosaur armies. Is that kind of gone away, Mike, in current play? Is it more serious players now?
I think so. Because as the tournament play has gotten more, not to say formal, but I think people are taking it a little bit more seriously, at least at tournaments and armies. So
I think it was just because the shackles came off and you could get away with a lot. Yeah. People really pushed the boundaries, but I think the people that stuck with it care enough about the hobby as a whole to actually take it serious.
Let me throw out there one, on a similar note, something that turns you off of the game that started happening to me. The first instance of it happened when I played Joe Neat. Then it happened again in an actual tournament. And that was when you charge something intentionally at an angle that then makes that unit have to move and fucks that up for somebody else. Someone would say, well, that's my strategy, to charge around terrain to make that happen. It seems like abusing the rules to me. And that could be, I don't have a tactic to defend it, so that's fine. You can say that, but anyone, Mike, including you with the most experience, is that really a problem, or is that just me needing to get over that?
Well, it definitely is a tactic to have like part of your base be in rough terrain, so that when you charge, then you have to slide over. That puts you in a
hindered charge. Yeah.
Disordered charge.
It's very gamey. I see what you're saying.
It is gamey. Yeah.
I don't like things that, like, if you want to do something like that, fine. And this whole game is based on you do everything in your turn. But then when I have to move my base, that's what I'm like. You do something, Mike, against me, and because of lining things up, I then have to slide mine over.
Yeah.
And if the whole idea is you do your turn, I do my turn, why are you fucking my shit up on essentially a loophole of a rule?
Yeah, it is pretty game, because in reality they would not charge into the woods to attack you. They would hit you,
outside of the woods.
I have like 10% of my unit in the woods, and 90% sticking out, and you charge me. You're not going to charge that wood part. You're going to charge the part you can see. So
I just remember, now my thing got shifted over, and so then it gave somebody a flank charge, which I was sure I wasn't going to give you one. because I finished my turn knowing I'm safe. I finished my turn. I didn't give you any of these. I'm safe. But then on your turn, you made my base move enough, and it fucked me up. And like those are the things that it's legal in the rules. It's a tactic, but that ain't gonna make me want to play more. And if the Kings of War community doesn't want me, that's fine. I don't give a shit anyway about them. But what if I'm like the secret to 100 more players that are going to join your community at tournaments? You still want that, and that became the norm. That happened to me again at another event at Adepticon, I think. And it was just like, this isn't the style I want to play. And that, again, I could be closed-minded on it. And I could say, I don't want to learn to get better. But if the whole idea is I do shit on my turn, I don't like you're making me shift to now fuck me over.
It's the difference between a game and reality. The game, they make rules to cover 90% of situations that 10% people are going to use to their advantage, which is fine. It's just not.
It's a feature of rank and flank style games, though. So it's
true. You can't get out of it.
Even, it is cumbersome moving a giant base around.
Yeah, even the Ice and Fire game has a similar kind of thing to it. White, I don't remember it being as bad because I think I forget when the shifting occurred, but it was.
Yeah, they actually allow the half charge.
Right, they allow that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because in Kings of War, was it like a corner thing?
When you charge something, you have to slide so it's center to center.
Wait, so I can like tap your corner and get the whole, like I slide over and then you slide over. Wasn't that how that was being played? I just get enough.
Well, no, if you tap the corner, it depends if you're making a front charge or a side charge, you're going to lap around, but then you're still going to slide all the way down so it's center to center. Yeah.
So, again, like you said, it's a feature of that game, and having large bases like legions, you get kind of screwed on that a little more. Let's kind of do a around the table pros and cons overall about Kings of War. Xtreme, kick it off.
All the modeling, like the openness to the modeling and the freedom to do whatever you want with the army that you have, I think is a huge pro. And when I think third edition, they've started to develop more of their own fluff, but I kind of liked having like less on the Mantic side, because then I could envision my army as more of like Warhammer dwarf fluff that I wanted and stuff like that. So I don't know, modeling in general is just a huge pro for me.
Are you saying lack of fluff initially was a pro for you?
It was, in a weird way, because then I could like envision the world in my own way. Whatever my opponent with his plastic dinosaurs wanted to envision it, I had my own vision for what was going on, and it was a pro for me in some weird way.
This was the army that was fighting alongside the 40 miners in your head.
In the same universe as the 40 miners, yes.
Some of the guys that were in battle could have been watching the game, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Some of, dare I say, a star player on the pitch might get handed an axe one day, or would that never happen in your mind?
That probably wouldn't happen. I mean, they have their roles. They've moved on. They didn't enlist.
What if you had a dwarf blitzer that got 2 strength increases? Would he ever be given a shot at like an ironclad regiment?
Hell no. He would be the star of that Blood Bowl team. He would never leave.
I'm just saying, Michael Jordan quit basketball to try baseball. Didn't work out.
I thought it was to get away from the game to settle gambling.
That's part of it too, yeah. You got to let that guy settle his own gambling problems by moving over. I'm just saying, if he wants to do it in your world, are you that much of a ruling with an iron fist that you won't allow that sort of thing?
I mean, I wouldn't in my world. It's my world, my rules. He stays.
Elvis was in the army, but they didn't put him on the front line.
Right. He had the Elvis role in the army.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Brian, is Blood Bowl, in addition to being the best party game, the best fantasy rank and flank game?
Good question.
No, come on, let's not get ridiculous.
Go ahead.
So my pros, other than modeling, are that it plays like a skirmish game. So it plays quick and clean, and I always wanted the visual appeal of a mass battle game, but I never really liked. It was when I sat down to watch someone play, I was like, that looks horrible. Like, I don't want to deal with that. But then Kings of War came along. It's like, oh, so it's really just like a skirmish game, and this guy has multi-wounds. and he's on a certain size base, but I get the visual appeal of a mass battle game, I'm in. Cons, I
Let's
don't
hold off
know.
on cons. Hold off on cons.
Okay.
Let's go over to Biran, and we're going to go Valdric last as the master of Kings of War compared to us.
The Grand Poobah, if you will.
Yeah, the Grand Poobah.
I agree with Xtreme about the modeling. Also, the rules are elegant and incredibly well done. And I'm not smart enough to be good at it or willing to put the time in to be good at it, but I think it has a very high skill ceiling. Minutes to learn, lifetime to master type deal.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, I also like one thing that, and this came after my love affair with King's War, was Mike, what's the name of the like Cthulhu nightmare forces? Like with the scarecrows and shit.
They're called Halloweenies.
Night Terrors or something?
Yeah, Night Haunts or something like that, yeah.
I thought that army, just the idea of that it's so different from anything GW that I want to give Mantic credit for coming up with something truly original.
I think that army would need a Zlurpcast to lead it, though, right?
Yes.
Zlurpcast, Zembashki.
And I even like I think some of their best models came out of the Kings of War line. I think their dwarves are great. I think the Abyssal dwarves are great. I love the Obsidian golems. So I think they were hitting on all cylinders with the miniatures.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's going to come up in my cons. Models.
I think especially the monster-sized miniatures were across the line. I think they did an excellent job.
Yeah, the golems and the greater Obsidian golem. I like actually painted it, and it's a giant thing. I usually don't paint big stuff.
Some of the big stuff was good. I think some was maybe not where we wanted it to be, but I think it was pretty good. For me, Kings of War, like Biran and Xtreme both said, the rules are smooth. Giving you freedom to do something goes a long way. And I just like that they filled a niche that was needed. Now,
is it niche or niche?
I like to say niche because I think niche sounds like I'm trying. Like I'm.
It sounds a little pretentious.
Nevada.
I think it's pretentious.
Say Nevada. No, it's Nevada, right?
Oregon.
Biran, I'm actually doing my pros right now.
Oh, sorry. I'll edit this out.
Please, you're not going to do shit.
I know.
So I like that it gives you a lot of that kind of freedom to play, and it is a good tournament game. They filled that gap that fantasy left over. So I give them credit on that. Models early on are pretty good. Like we talked about in other Mantic episodes, Pachow. They were good, but I'm not impressed by everything that's come in the last 5 years of the game. So it's going to come up in the cons. But as an early pro, undead looked cool. Orcs were cool. The orcs were a different take. They weren't comedic looking. They were more kind of tribal looking. The dwarves were more halfling, right, look style of them, and that they weren't the.
They were very short dwarves, yes.
I'm not a little shorter and really big. They're really dwarf people. That's how that was. The elves, the same thing. The elves were not Games Workshop elves that are 7.5 feet tall, supposedly, and this is more that style. So they had their own thing going. I like that. But that's really it. So that's it for my pros. Valdric, your pros.
Pretty much everything you've said. Like you all said, it's a good, clean game. It plays fast. And again, I think the whole system of on your turn, you're rolling all the dice. I think that works really well. Again, they've expanded on the fluff, so I think that's helpful, but not too much. But so again, you still are, open-ended and all that. But the models, I think, are pretty decent. The new plastics they come out with for the Abyssal Dwarves and the Goblins are great. I haven't actually seen the Ratkin, but they seem okay. But
are they similar style to the ones from Dead Zone? Because I know you were a fan of those.
Yeah. For the most part, yeah. And again, I'm based on the Goblins and the Abyssal Dwarfs. I'm going to assume the Ratkin are also equally good. The resins that they've done have been very, very good. They're really good with the resins. So,
They
but
have
again,
to make a rat army. Like what? Like was it? We have to do a rat army too. Like it wasn't enough to have the others.
well, I mean, they're filling a need for those Warhammer expatriates they have Skaven, and they tied it in with the fluff because they were created by the Abyssal Dwarves. So there's a logical reason for it because Abyssal Dwarves.
They put a spoiler warning, but okay.
Yeah. But the Abyssal Dwarves seem like they're doing everything in the Mantic universe.
They're basically the chaos.
It kind of seems that way. It's because in the Halpi's Rift, they're a big part of that too. So they're big movers and shakers in that universe. So
because they're so neglected by Warhammer for the most part.
Yeah. And again, they are my first love of the game. So
my Abyssal Dwarf army did not have a single Abyssal Dwarf in it. That's what I loved.
Yeah, and and another okay, that brings up a good point. Another thing that I like is once a year they go through and they look for the cheesy shit and they tamp it down a little bit, and then they look for the stuff that's underpowered and they.
Who's they? Who's they? Rules Committee or Mantic?
What?
Is it Rules Committee or Mantic employees?
Mantic. Now these are These are volunteers for the most part.
But they're better volunteers than some of the other games.
Yeah.
Xtreme, what were you going to say about your one Abyssal Dwarf?
My Abyssal Dwarf army had one Abyssal Dwarf in it. He was riding a dragon.
Was it Golden Toe Mo?
No, he wouldn't be Abyssal. Come on.
Why?
He was a good dwarf.
You don't think he'd take his foot services elsewhere if he had a bad year?
Nah.
Evil
He's not
twin?
that kind of guy.
All right, well, let me know if you want some help. I can help you with some fluff.
All right.
After we do cons, Mike, I want you to also talk about you ran a campaign for us with Kings of War.
Okay.
We have three different armies, so we'll talk about that too. We're going to go to you last. Same order for cons. Xtreme, kick it off.
Very few cons for me. I can't blame the player base. I can't discredit the game because of some of the players. So that would be most of my cons. So I don't think I really have any cons for the game.
Didn't you shit on 40K because of the players, though, in that episode?
No, mostly the game itself. The player.
I think I shat on the players.
I don't think I shit on the 40K players.
You should.
I like that Biran said shat. Okay, wow. So no real cons.
I don't think so. Nothing I can think of.
We're going to pull 4 out of your ass tonight.
That's a Schomburg 5.
The Schomburg 5. Biran, your cons.
The game's well enough designed that I'm not good at it, and other people are.
That's a good self-con.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do an episode rating you, that's definitely one to say for that one. Just rating you.
Yeah, again, I mean, aside from, typical Mantic Stink and Ohio having some sort of something to do with this game in any way, shape, or form.
For someone that hasn't watched other episode, what do you mean by Mantic Stink? Do you mean Kickstarters or do you mean model quality or both?
A little of everything. The players, although not as bad, I don't think the Kings of War Mantic Stink is as strong as the other games. I think it's successful despite and doesn't even need the Mantic fanboys.
The people that play Kings of War, would you say half are in the Mantic cult and half just like the game?
I'd say less than half are in the Mantic cult.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a minority in Kings of War.
I think you have not only the Warhammer Fantasy people that have come over, but like people that wanted rank and flank in general. And a lot of those people won't transition into other games.
No, like your Kings of War players, the vast majority would not play any other Mantic game, I don't think, except maybe Dungeon Saga for fun or what's the skirmish game, Mike?
Vanguard.
Okay.
Vanguard, maybe.
I see them playing if the only people you play against are also Mantic people, then you might get sucked in. But you're right. If you were a Warhammer Fantasy gaming group and you now play Kings of War, it probably has no bearing on any other love for Mantic.
Nope.
Any other cons we're on?
No.
Okay.
They actually released, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, 3rd edition without any Kickstarter.
Right.
And they've
By the
actually
way-
released more and more armies of their own, which I give them credit. So yeah, I don't really have any beef with them, even from a business standpoint.
Okay. I probably should have thrown this in the pros, so I'll just throw it out there now. Most of their games have a set of free rules on the website too. So I did notice, because I don't have 3rd edition, Mike, are the army lists left out intentional because you can't give everything in the free version? Or does the book actually not have army lists?
No, the book has army lists, yeah.
Okay, cool.
They've
So
got
that's
like
one-
10 armies in there. I didn't look, but roughly 10.
The PDF had a sample dwarf army,
Yeah.
and sample orc army, and that was it. And I was like, oh, and I'm guessing if I bought the real book, I'd get more and that, right?
Oh, yeah. I can look it up, but it's easily 10 in there.
Yeah. I'll give them a pro on that one, because that's kind of a, whether you think that's good business or not, not really, doesn't really matter. Is this game cool? It's always nice to check out something online for free. They let you do that.
And if you really want free stuff, you can they've got a deal with Easy Army. So
Yeah, Easy Army has always been great for Kings of War.
yeah, and they've been cool about it because when the new edition came out, they didn't post the rules, for like 30, 45 days, something like that, to kind of force people, you're not going to get it for free right away.
Yeah.
So buy the book.
I don't got a problem with that.
And we'll eventually put it on the website.
Yeah. And after like 40, they would say see page 45, which was nice because it gave you the page number too. But after a while, the rules are up. So,
Yeah,
and I think
Easy Army
Mantic actually has a subscription. They've partnered with Easy Army, so they're working together now.
So this morning in my prep for this episode, yeah, that's a thing. I pulled out my Kings of War army, and I'm like, I'm going to make an army list. It's about 2,000 points without any magic items, or maybe 1950 or so. So that's about, I think, tournament size, right? 2,000. And I noticed on the Easy Army site, it's a little different. You type in your army name, and it gives you the Mantic font. I'm like, oh, they got a thing right off the bat. I was like, you're using the Kings of War font. And then there is a donate button, a subscription, that kind of thing. It's still, it's still a function over a nice looking site, but who cares? The idea is to get your stats on a fucking piece of paper. That's all it is. So it's actually pretty cool. If you like Kings of War, or you're still looking at it, get the free rules, but also check that out as well. For my cons, so looking at my old Undead army, and the models are old, I'm thinking, well, like most miniature games, there's got to be some new models out, right? Like if you look at GW or other, Fantasy Flight, other games that make, or other miniature game manufacturers, they update their model line. I looked at my Undead, it's all the same shit. Okay, whatever. Oh, here's some new stuff. Let me look at them. They're almost all metal. And I remember buying one of the last things I bought before I kind of stopped playing Kings of War were the new whites. They're big. They're like ogre whites. And I remember these are shit to me. They're just like hunks of metal that flash everywhere. And I'm like, and I remember thinking about that when I was looking on their website today about the new models. And I'm like, I'm going to see what else they got. So I got a new vampire lord. That's cool. He's metal too. Okay, couldn't do it in plastic. And then I saw there is zombie trolls. I'm like, oh, I got them from Dungeon Saga, and those are pretty good, and they're plastic. Oh no, these are going to be metal though. And I also remember thinking about my flagger. Was that what it's called? Flag?
Flag it.
Orc?
Flag it.
Flag it.
Flag it.
Flag it. Flag it. And I remember that was a piece of shit model because I had the robe that he had on it. It was a bunch. It was just bad. I was carving enough hunks of metal with it, and I just am a little surprised that by this point in the Kings of War model line, why isn't this shit plastic and better? I mean, does anyone have an answer?
Most of their small run new stuff is resin because they have an in-house resin manufacturing thing. So all the stuff that was used in Vanguard, I know resin is its own thing. But
how the fuck did they do plastic in 2010 and can't do it in 2020?
Because they don't want to spend the money on the molds and dyes and stuff.
But I mean, they did it then. They were like a 6-person company back then, if that. Why can't we get that now? Why are we still? Let's just keep. And this, to me, this is another.
I mean, the new Ratkin, the new Abyssal Dwarfs, the new Goblins, those are all
like
plastic.
The Succubus were all plastic. I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Infernals.
The Abyssals, Force of the Abyss, those are all plastic. The Salamanders are plastic. So
okay, I'll give you. So the new armies have a good chunk of plastic in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Newish, whatever.
The heroes, not as much. So.
Okay, that's fair. That's fine. I just, when Biran said Mantic stink, and I don't want to turn this into a total and negative thing, but there's the Kickstarter talk everyone talks about Mantic. There's the model quality everyone talks about Mantic, but I think the one that people don't talk about is why they always have it was better in the past. So, like in all their games, I always get hit with a vibe of things started off better than they ended. Like they just, models from the early days of Kings of War to me are better than some of the ones out now. And that shouldn't be the case. And I would love to be wrong, and maybe I am with all those other model or faction lines, but I hate that feeling that I always get with Mantic. Like in Dead Zone, my old plague is better than the plastic plague. Why? I wanted plastic, thank you. Oh, they don't look as good. What the fuck? And so
like the Rustic Rockers are better than the Iron Warrior guys.
I like to see forward momentum with the games we play. In an age when miniature games is at its height, it's never been bigger now. You'd like to see Mantic kind of get with that. Things get better as time goes on, and sometimes
but like Mike said, the newer Kings of War stuff is better. A lot of it, especially the troops, are hard plastic now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of if you like orcs, dwarves, and undead, you get the old stuff. You're probably not going to get
or get GW stuff.
Yeah.
It's still, I'm going to throw it still in the cons because it is, but I'm glad to see they're doing some things better. But I can't help the way I feel about sometimes noticing the more you do, the less you get, the less good it is. And sometimes it's would this have been better if it just the game just fizzled away and the players kept it alive? Because then I wouldn't expect new good shit. But when you expect new good shit and you get 3 hunks of metal that I got to clean up, I don't know. That's all. It's just how I feel on that. Outside of that, because it's rank and flank, it's going to lead to that other type of gameplay that has some ways, but that's just part of the game. If you choose to play that kind of game, that's kind of what you're in for. So I'm not going to really, it's not a real con. It's more of, like Biran said, a con of not getting good, bro. So for me, it's really just a model thing. I'm glad to see they're not using Kickstarter. That's great. That'll help, I think, win people over that may have gotten soured on Mantic in the past. The more they do with their own funds and an actual business plan, people will come around eventually again and check it out. So,
and more importantly, more importantly than people, game stores may be more forgiving if you're not doing the Kickstarter and you're releasing your own.
Oh yeah.
Xtreme, great point. Thank you for adding another con. I thought I was only going to have the one, and I will add the other one. Game stores, thank you for directly pushing your con onto me. Game stores still aren't looking to play with Mantic, even Kings of War. And will that ever change? I don't know. Biran, Mike, as patrons of Grognard Games in Rose, Illinois, as that store, and, oh, by the way, the owner, the managing partner, whatever he wants to be called these days, also has a fetish for Kings of War. Yes, I said
his third favorite game. Yep.
Yeah. Besides Dust Tactics.
No, it's Magic, then BattleTech, then Kings of War.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the Art of Complaining?
That's a special spot.
That's a game that's tough, easy to learn, tough to master.
Yeah.
As the proprietor of Grognard Games, he's a fan of Kings of War, loves the game. Is it on the shelves right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Is there a healthy amount on the shelves right now?
It's bigger than Games Plus.
Okay.
I mean, he got like 6 of the new box sets.
Yeah, when the new stuff came in, he got a lot of it.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great to hear.
And he was probably more willing to invest in it because it wasn't Kickstarted.
Yeah.
Do you know if he gets it from Mantic or a distributor? Do you not?
Mantic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Kyle has helped that considerably too.
Okay.
So.
Mantic is trying to do the Games Workshop way of of direct ordering, and so I hope it works out for them. They never really had a good track record with distributors, but having game stores behind you is going to be a big deal. Now, will that same game store ever let another product hurt Age of Sigmar sales? They're going to want to keep an eye on that. But if it serves up something different, which is what Kings of War does, you might find the right store with it. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Xtreme. It's good to talk about in an age when Mantic doesn't always have the best history in stores.
Now, how many other game stores currently have Kings of War on the shelves at a decent stock level? I can't say.
There's one here that does.
Oh, really?
The one here doesn't. It's in Colorado Springs. They got. I'm trying to think. I don't even remember seeing the rule book out. I might have seen some models on the clearance section, like the VCR box, the VHS boxes. I think I saw some of those that said like Elf Regiment or whatever. But I don't think it's anywhere in this store nearby. I played it a couple times here because there's a couple of people that really like Mantic here, but I don't think it's really how do I get it? Cool game. Where do I get it? Well, there's a website, and so it's still going to occur a little bit. Valdric, let's talk about that campaign. If you remember some details from how you ran the structure and how you managed to take a game that's nowhere does anyone really talk about playing campaigns for Kings. It's a tournament game. It's building the perfect list for your tournament. You developed a campaign for it.
Yeah, I stole the rules from. It was basically I stole the rules from a Warhammer campaign, something, and I honestly. You have better memory of this than I do, what the actual rules were, but
if I remember correctly, if anything rings a bell, jump in. You had. I thought you had was it Mighty Empires? Was that the one with the hexes of the?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right. It was largely based on Mighty Empires, but it was from a website that had expanded on it. And I bought this software package called Hexographer, and so it made the island and the different.
Because I then took the same thing and did that Dead Zone from the same thing.
What?
I did a Dead Zone thing with the same style. So I stole that from you because it was just. It's easy. I could put little blockers and terrain. But if I remember correctly, you said everybody that wants to be in it, you pick an army. And then you develop 3 regiments of renown and 3 characters. So it could be. So I had like my Cursed Pharaoh and the Werewolf Horde. That would be 1, and then another one. And then those 3 would be the leaders, essentially, of 3 different armies. You could fill. You don't have to have 3 armies worth of models, but it was supposed to be like that leader and that squad is just with this army, and then you could fill. And then same thing, and that way it allowed you to, like, kind of, if you look at like our beef Gotia, the country, it's like how do you take? I want to send my super elite forces down this side, and I can take them out, and we're going to ally with them. You wanted to create an extra element of, yes, we're playing games. They're sort of one-off, but there's going to be some bonuses. If you win, you get this. If you have this territory, you get this. We didn't always play even battles, which I always dig. I always like the idea that I got 1,200 points going against your 1,600. Fuck it, because if I win, it makes me feel really good. I get a lot of bonuses. If I lose, I had less points anyway. I love those kind of battles. I love the narrative style that you applied to a game that doesn't lend itself to a narrative style. Was there any other takeaways from that you think are worth talking about? Just the idea that, you can do that with this game?
Oh, you can totally do this with this game. And I thought the rules were balanced enough that it didn't make things too overly powered. I kind of liked the role-playing aspect of it because I chose units that really weren't that powerful, but I still have those bases, and I still, remember that. It was a lot of fun. pain in the ass to run it, but I think everyone else enjoyed it, so I was happy with it. And again, it promoted people playing the game, so I'd be willing to do it again. So
yeah, find some new friends.
What?
Find some new friends first.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the older editions of Kings of War, they did have a campaign book. I think it was Fire and Stone, and it was Abyssal Dwarves versus Dwarves, but it was like a 2-player campaign.
It was a 2-player campaign with 6 scenarios, so it wasn't.
It's kind of cool.
It was if you play Abyssal Dwarves and Dwarves.
Yeah, if you had 2 people that played those armies.
Did you guys get together and play that ever or no?
I wish. That would have been awesome, but no.
Pat and I did. We played like 3 of the scenarios, 3 or 4. So it was fun. I mean, but
you and Pat, huh?
Yeah. Other friends,
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what you call foreplay?
What?
Oh, you call foreplay with Pat? See where the fuck it goes. No, I'm glad you have another Kings of War group, Mike. I'm glad you were just fucking outed on national.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. No, I think that the game is it's thriving better than their other games. Kings of War is arguably their best. I don't want to say their best game because that's a subjective thing, but it has the easiest path to success because you can still squeeze out the disgruntled. They're still out there. There's the people that played Warhammer Fantasy are still out there, and they either played Kings of War. There was a couple other fantasy battle games that were out around the same time.
Well, they were trying to do that 9th Age, like crowdsourced game, and it just went down in a fiery ball.
There was another one, Mike. What am I thinking of? Another, not Mantic, not GW, but it was or try this. There was another fantasy battle game that some people went down. It was like you take out the group of Warhammer players and they kind of each tried a different path. Some did 9th Age, some did Kings of War. There was another one, I forgot what it was called. But it wasn't a big name company. But I remember that was the other one people talked about. That was your 3 choices. Either hold on to the scraps of what you had and hope that. And I will say, Adepticon, didn't they try to please everybody by letting people have 9th events and Kings of War?
They did until GW said no. If you support 9th edition, we will not support you. So that's the story. I don't know. I don't have inside information on that, but I've gotten scuttlebutt that's kind of what happens.
Well, because for a while GW didn't give a crap about official Adepticon stuff, and then they did, and then they said, "Get the shit out of here."
Yeah.
Tell us more about the scuttlebutt.
What?
Scuttlebutt.
I just did. GW kind of said.
I actually don't know what that word means. Does that just mean rumors?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. You guys get any new words lately?
Oh, I knew scuttlebutt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. I don't care if you knew that one. Like, have you gotten a new word lately? I guess is the point.
I have them all already.
Yeah. I got agog the other day. That was pretty cool. I'm all agog. Excited. Yeah. That was a fun one. I like words. Anyway, based on the scuttlebutt, Mike, there is a future of Kings of War, and the 9th Age people kind of are fading away.
Yeah, there was some, again, more scuttlebutt that I just, it's all third-hand stuff, but there was a rift, as commonly happens in, community games where there was a split, and that spells the end, so.
I love it.
Is that like your War Realm split?
we were now both sides are fighting for the rights of the Halpy dragon.
Yeah.
We need to fight for it. It's like, if you want custody, you got to arm wrestle for your kid, over the top. We all know.
Exactly.
What else on the Kings of War front should we discuss before we get into our ratings? Is there anything we missed? Obviously, it's not a gameplay episode. You're not going to get that really from us in general, but this is probably the solution for fantasy mass battle wargame. That if you don't like the Age of Sigmar style, you don't like that. You don't like any other styles of games like the War Machine-esque, those other style. If you like this rank and flank style, this is the answer for the most part, right?
And if you like fantasy, because if you like rank and flank, there's all kinds of historicals, but it's men versus men. If you like fantasy, I mean, even
people versus people, Mike.
What?
Let's not gender it.
Yeah.
I think it still is men versus men. It's historical. We can say that.
Yeah.
We don't know how they identify.
There's Greeks, yeah.
That's right.
You're going to edit that out later,
No, I will leave it in. Just like the Greeks would.
As a personal memory type thing, I think the team tournament we did together was one of like the highlights. I don't know, one of those very positive gaming memories that I'll always remember.
That was a fun tournament.
Yeah,
Todd ran a very fun tournament.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. It's not all gaming events are memorable. Like, we participate in a lot of gaming events in our 15, 20, 25 years, for Mike, 50 years of gaming. We participate in a lot of gaming events, tournaments, leagues, even one-offs. Is it still a gaming event? How many are remarkable? How many make you remember shit? You know, of your, you and Xtreme, Valdric, you have probably 500 NAF games or more. Do you remember a good amount of those? I don't remember most of mine, but I remember certain things. And I do remember the team tournament. I was part of Xtreme. Biran and Mike, you were partners?
Yep.
We played each other.
We played each other in round one, and we tied.
Oh, round one, yeah.
Then we had 2 wins after that, I believe.
Yeah, because, we set the bar high, and
Tying your first round, there's nothing wrong with that.
We ended up with a tie, a win, and a loss, didn't we, Mike?
yeah.
And we beat the Brits.
We beat the Brits, and those guys were fun, man. Those guys were great. So
Were they pissed? Were they bloody
They were right.
pissed?
They were right chuffed. They were.
yes,
Yeah. I can see those guys doing I had a long night, mate, so go easy on me.
I was gonna say there's another definition of piss, and they might have been that. But
Yeah.
That's what
They were a little
English-
tipsy, that's for sure.
yeah. And it was game 2, so it was afternoon.
That was an Adepticon where, there was already drinking going on in some of our people too. So,
Yeah.
but I'm not that type where I'm like, I'll be fine the next fucking day. Like, if I showed up to the tournament, I'm okay to play. If I didn't show up, then I wasn't okay to play. But the idea of showing up to tournaments hungover, like I'm in no place to play. Why the fuck are you even there? Just stay in your room or show up to the game 2. That's the Adepticon thing. We talked about that.
Or just wander around and pass judgment on strangers like I do.
That's a fun way to do it for sure. But yeah, Xtreme was a fun event. Team tournaments. I always like team tournaments.
Yeah.
In an alternate universe, I would have loved to do a 40K team tournament with you guys, but I don't want to play in that fucking tournament because I don't want to be in that room for 16 hours, ass to ass, balls to balls, and just fucking pissed off for 16 hours. But in a perfect world, how cool would that be? I mean, you play.
Well, and also, wasn't it the first night of Adepticon, so the room wasn't even full yet, and we had it almost to ourselves?
No, that was a Saturday.
Oh.
There was
The one. Go ahead.
Kings of War tournament on a Thursday. That was a normal Kings of War tournament, I believe.
Yeah, but that started at 7 p.m. or 5 p.m. or whatever it was. Remember? Because that was when we had the 2-hour dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we all went.
The team tournament was in the Schomburg room because it's the smaller, not the main hall, but the smaller room with the carpeting.
Yeah.
The shitty 5-hour break one was in the main hall, and it sucked.
Yeah.
Last week's episode, the Extreme Appreciation episode.
What's that, Brian?
So the Extreme Appreciation episode, we talked about how we met Brian. Mike, is it confirmed that the 2-hour lunch break is the reason why Biran met Xtreme, and without said 2-hour break, that friendship might not have been started, or was that not confirmed?
I don't know, Xtreme. How did you meet Biran?
Yeah,
What's your
correct
version?
us.
I heard of Biran before I met him, I think. But I do remember the Mantic night that he mentioned in the last episode. I do remember that.
For some reason, I thought we had that super long dinner, and that gave us more time to,
Bond.
for camaraderie, if you will.
Yeah.
It's possible. Yeah.
Went to the Buona Beef and
Yeah, the one that, is like we sat there for 2 hours. It's normally 15 minutes in and out, but when you're waiting for a 2-hour fucking dinner break for Kings of War, Yeah, I don't. Mike, has the tournament scene gotten a little more buttoned down with how things are done?
I mean, it's hard to tell now because there hasn't been much of a tournament scene this year, but there's definitely rules. Even in the 3rd edition, there's a whole chapter on how to run a tournament. So, yeah. I know they just had the Alamo GT last weekend. So
they got rid of the Ohio Stranglehold on tournaments. I think that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. The Texan people, the Texans are really took to that. So
I think, as the game expands, it needs to get better at that kind of stuff. And I think, if I remember correctly, there was a lot of guys in Texas that are to kind of take over and get some uniformity with scoring and painting and stuff, scores, all that.
Isn't there the Minnesota guy too? Run some stuff.
Yeah,
Lady of the Lake, I think. Is
Chris Kapsner.
Yeah, the one who will crush you.
Lady of the Lake. That's what it's called. Yeah, that didn't happen this year, but
yeah,
I know we'd like.
Why? Why didn't it happen? Say
COVID.
Because of the bat.
The pandemic.
Yes.
The Great Reset is the new conspiracy. Look that one up.
Okay, I'd rather not. Saw that one today.
One other fond memory though is another Todd tournament. But 2 of my favorite tournaments were Todd tournaments. Was at Dragonfall. He actually painted a miniature for everyone that participated and worked it into the game, and you got to keep it.
I still have mine.
I do too.
Yeah.
Was I at that one?
It was Dragon Con.
I played at a Dragonfall.
Mike and I won that tournament because we didn't have to move the entire tournament.
Yeah, I remember
planted and did not move for the entire tournament.
Was it a team tournament?
No, but we were both planted.
Yeah, we were next to each other, and
I just remember getting last place, and I got a cool orc hut.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is fucking great.
Yeah, because Wooden Spoon gets second pick typically.
Yeah, I lost all my games and I won a prize. It's fucking great.
Yep.
I even got, dare I say, close to sportsman because I'm the guy at the bottom. It's like, go
here's your points.
Here's your points.
But Todd, who's a big grumpy Gus, ran 2 of my favorite tournaments.
Wow. And then when you run events, he also participates, but doesn't have the same experience.
No.
Well, Kings of War, as we've all said, it's a fun game. It's that solution for fantasy mass battle games. So definitely check it out. And the rules are online for free. Pretty cool. Let's get to our ratings. And so it's most to least. That's how we normally do it, right? Most experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that way the last.
It's been a while. We've done so many bullshit episodes. I forgot.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't think about it because sometimes when you round off the average, it makes sense that the person least experienced, their vote shouldn't always count.
Right.
Much like if you were in Georgia right now.
Hey, they just found some votes, bro.
Found some in a fucking case. And then I saw a news team. They're like, "That's where our video camera's at." There was a picture of a wagon with a briefcase. Like, here are the votes. And they're like, "No, this is our fucking video camera. We have to put it
in the video camera."
And it's like, right, did you look inside the lens? All right. So, Valdric, what is your Zlurpee rating for Kings of War?
I will give it a 4.5.
Okay.
I think it scratches all those itches for those that want to play a rank and flank kind of game. It does have some limitations. It is a little hard to get into because the model count, even with minimum model count, can be a little high. But I think it's a very clean rule set. I think it's open, like Xtreme said. The fluff is open enough that you can do what you want, but there's still well-defined parameters for the armies, and I think there's different styles. And it is, again, I'm still buying miniatures. I'm even last night I was painting miniatures for my Abyssal Dwarves. So, yeah.
And on that note, regarding the fluff, I mean, it was kind of jokingly early on. Mantic was Mantic, and then the Mantic but now they've expanded that. I mean,
what's it called now?
Do you think Ronnie?
Panathor.
Oh, okay. There's no more Mantica?
Panathor, but the little isolated area is called Mantica still, so.
Panathor.
Pedothor.
You think if Ronnie gets totally pissed and then like pulls his dick out and says, "Welcome to Mantica." Why would he say it? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Why would he say that? Next on the experience level, I don't know. I played a couple times out here.
You would be next, JP, for sure, because you played after I stopped playing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you had at least a couple army experience too, so.
Yeah, I played against my will out here. It was in order for someone else to play a game with me, I played a game with them. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I wanted to give it a 4. But if it's truly a 4, why don't I want to play this game right now at this moment? That's what a 4 is in my head. And I had a lot of fun playing it. It's a good game. But 3.5 is a good score. It's like, you did well. At least you tried. It's got all the right elements of a good game. It's just nowhere it's going to be on my list of games I want to play if I'm picking the game. If Mike wants to play, I'll play. But I ain't picking it. That's a 3.5.
Yeah.
Probably Biran, or should we go Xtreme just to fuck up the system a little bit?
Let's go to Xtreme to fuck up the system.
Yeah.
You guys might be tied because Xtreme played a good amount. I just don't. Biran, you didn't even paint an army, right, Biran?
I painted an army of one. Raider of City and Golem.
You're last. You're last.
You buy painted armies exclusively now. I don't want to hear your shit.
Yeah, now. But back then, when we
cared. Oh wait, I also painted a horde of trolls. So.
Okay, great.
So probably
Xtreme.
200 points total.
All right. Xtreme, what's your rating for Kings of War?
For Kings of War, a game that I very much like and enjoyed and have good memories of, my rating is a 4.5.
Ooh. Highest ever?
Yeah.
Highest ever.
Wow. Only Rivet Wars could possibly top it. Only.
We will see.
We'll see. I don't see you ever shitting out of 5 ever in your life.
Rivet Wars might get it.
We'll see.
No, because you can't. You gotta get perfect score to a game that's dead? Come on. Anyway, I don't want to foreshadow too much here. Great score, Xtreme. I'm proud of you. Proud of you for this one. Biran, Kings of War.
I'm actually going to go with a consumer advocacy point of view on this. If you're looking for a rank and flank fantasy game, I don't think you could pick any better than this. While the game's not really for me, I will rate it from that perspective and give it a 4.5 as well.
Oh, okay. Why did you have that take on it? Because you don't do that for other games.
I don't. My like I said, my review methodology is completely capricious and arbitrary. You follow a standard of, do I want to play it right now? I follow a standard of that and then maybe something else next time.
Each of those levels means something to me. You have no...
No, I'm pure chaos.
Yeah, you are fucking chaos theory over there.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Okay. Okay, well, total score, anyone?
4.25.
Another one tied for highest. It's another one in the upper tier. There's only a select few that have made it to the Zlurpy tier. And if I didn't tank on this one, we could have had a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But I got to stay true. Why the fuck am I going to do consumer? Biran's fucking Ralph Nader all of a sudden.
I'm unsafe at any speed.
All right. Well, if you like this episode, check out the plethora of other Zlurpcast reviews. There's a shirt there that Biran's got. Show it off. Right where my face is one of his titties, and right where Mike's trying to grab is his other one. That right there, that is the Zlurpcast TV Death Path alternate T-shirt. Baseball
crossover.
Baseball style, right?
Yeah. Is that a Henley? Is that what they call them?
Raglan.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Fair warning, though, I would not recommend this style of shirt. I'd get just a straight black one because the white is thin, and if you have tattoos, they'll show through. And if your skin is like bright white like mine, it also even shows through. So
for a non-tatted person in Biran and Xtreme are, isn't the point of getting him to show them off?
Yeah, but it looks weird through a shirt. Like you can't tell on camera, but under a bright light without a camera, you can.
Okay. Seems weird to think about that so much.
I don't know how my head works.
Okay. It's like Xtreme once said, it's exhausting being him. I think we all have that. Honestly. We all have that.
I have strong opinions on things I shouldn't have strong opinions on.
Yeah. Well, Zlurpcast.net, if we didn't say it, that's where to get that kind of stuff. Follow on social media, and we got a Facebook group as well, Zlurpcast Discussion. Next week, here's a preview, because we usually don't plan, but Biran got excited today.
Yep.
He's like, I'm going to make a spreadsheet.
Yep.
I'm like, why? Let's just fucking talk about it. No, because I want to see everyone's shit first before they get to fucking see it. I'm like, all right. We are going to go through the Marvel Cinematic Universe and rank from best to worst. Our favorites out there, talking about,
And this is according to, what was the link? Was it Screen Rant or something? Because we're not including things like Blade and that shitty Daredevil movie.
This is the ones that, most websites have decreased.
As canon.
As canon. It's the 3 phases we've had so far of the movies, and not TV shows, just the 3 phases of movies we've had. So it's
not X-Men.
And not X-Men or Spider or the
no group of X-Men
or older Spider-Man.
But the new Spider-Man movies are in. Deadpool's not in. X-Men aren't in. It's just
MCU canon, basically.
The things that have tied to the whole storylines. That is next week's episode. Definitely check that one out. Otherwise, that's it. We say our goodbyes now, everyone. Why don't you slip on that sub button? Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
No socks today?
No, I'm peeling my heel off. Look at this peel right here.
Oh,
it's gross. I put on some foot lotion, and now it's peeling off. It's like.
Zlurpcast! Brought to you by Nuffles. Bet you can't just roll a 1.